back to another video, and in this video I am going to be talking about if pet stores are good or bad, or what you should shop from pet stores. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to be talking about treats for your rabbits. Now, I do get my treats from Petco, and sometimes I get my treats off of Amazon, but my pet store has a lot of treats there, and most of the treats there are unhealthy, and you should stay away from your rabbit. You should keep away from your rabbit. One way to know if a treat is unhealthy is if it's like, if you look at the ingredients and has a lot of sugar in it, and stuff like that. And there are a lot of treats there that are unhealthy and processed. Now, one of the treats there that I know I can trust are the Oxbow treats and the papaya treats there, because they have really good Oxbow treats and papaya treats at most pet stores. But at most pet stores, they also have treats that are bad. And one way to know that if a treat is bad, if they don't really tell what the treats are made of. For example, if they just say and they don't tell what type of treats they are, like they don't say papaya treats, they don't say carrot treats, they'll just say like crunchy snack bar for your rabbit, and most likely that's going to be unhealthy. And yeah, especially if it doesn't look like it's made out of natural things, like if it's just like a bunch of weird stuff and like pink colorful stuff. So yeah, that's a sign that you'll want to stay away from. And yeah, so there are lots of treats at pet stores that you want to stay away from, and so that's basically the types of treats that you want to stay away from at pet stores. But there are also good treats there, like Oxbow treats. Any Oxbow treats from pet stores, I guarantee you can get, because it's a very good pet company. And papaya treats are usually pretty good from pet stores. So I'm going to be talking about cages for your rabbit, and I would usually never recommend a rabbit cage from pet stores, because they're usually really tiny, and they're usually the size of a fish tank. And those are really not good for your rabbit. And rabbits all need the same amount of exercise, no matter how small and big they are. So your rabbit could be a dwarf rabbit, and just because they're a super small rabbit doesn't mean that they can live in a tiny little cage from the pet store. All rabbits need the same amount of space for their cages, and I recommend a puppy playpen for your cage, because they are not too small. Usually the cages that are made specifically for rabbits are way too small, and you should never get for your rabbit, especially from pet stores. Even if you're just, it's just really not good. And they're plastic, and they usually don't really provide enough space for your rabbit. They're usually about, really small. So I would not recommend a cage for rabbits from the pet store, but I would recommend one of these, which is a puppy playpen for your rabbit, and they're really good quality, and they're really good, and they provide enough space for your rabbit. And just because somebody says that one of those small cages is the right space for your rabbit doesn't mean that it is, because I don't think that you would want to be put in that tiny cage. So please stay away from those and get your rabbit a puppy playpen instead. So yeah, most cages from the pet store are bad. Should be at least 4 feet long, and 3 feet in width. 4 feet long and 3 feet in width, and that should be the bare minimum for a cage size, especially if you're just going to keep your rabbit in there all day. I'm going to talk about toys there. Toys at pet stores I would recommend. I've never really seen a toy that was bad for your rabbit. Usually I would stay away from plastic toys. Those really aren't really that good. And I would also stay away from toys that are colored, but other than that, pet store toys are pretty good to go. For example, they have lots of wooden toys there, and you can also give your rabbit bird toys from the pet store, and they really are good for your rabbit. As long as they're not sprayed with any chemicals, they're fine. And Bun Bun just flopped. So I would recommend the toys from pet stores. And yeah, I personally don't get any wooden toys that are colored, but you can. I know a lot of people do get those kinds of toys. And I would recommend toys from the pet stores. They don't really do anything bad to your rabbit, and they're pretty good. I'm going to next talk about food dishes. I would recommend the food dishes from the pet store, as long as most food dishes aren't really that bad, and some of the food dishes there, like these metal ones, your rabbit can throw and dump all the food out. My rabbit doesn't really do that, so if your rabbit doesn't really do that, then all food dishes are fine. But if your rabbit does do it, they have porcelain dishes there too with cute designs on them, and I would recommend food dishes from the pet store. This is not from the pet store, this is just a bowl for her water. But I would recommend them there. There's nothing really wrong with them. Next, we're going to talk about litter for your rabbit. Now, here's the litter right there. You could get your rabbit the litter from the pet stores, but I don't really like the litter from the pet stores. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, really. Like, it doesn't really hurt your rabbit, but it doesn't really soak up the urine well, and it just doesn't really work well as litter for your rabbit, and I would not really recommend it. But you could get litter off of Amazon. Pelleted wheat straw litter I do recommend, but they usually don't have it there. So there's nothing really wrong with it. It doesn't really hurt your rabbit or anything. But I wouldn't recommend it because it doesn't really work well. We're going to talk about bedding, and bedding doesn't have. And I would actually never recommend the bedding at pet stores because it's really, really like bedding. The bedding at pet stores is basically the same thing as litter, and rabbit will get confused on where to poop and pee because it's like the same thing as your litter. So I would not recommend bedding from the pet stores and I would recommend getting like fleece from a craft store or a fabric store. They sell lots of nice fleece blankets and fleece fabric there that is really good. Joann Fabrics has a lot, I know, and they have a lot of cute patterns. So I would personally not recommend putting actual bedding from the pet store in there. It doesn't work well and it confuses your rabbit. Pellets and hay from the pet store, and basically just food from the pet store for your rabbit. Now, your rabbit will need fresh veggies, but you can't get those from pet stores. You're going to have to get them from your grocery store. But they do have a lot of different types of pellets. They have adult rabbit food and baby rabbit food. I would stick with Oxbow if I were you for the pellets, just because most other pellets there are not healthy for your rabbits. For example, if you see any of those tiny little colorful pebbles in there, stay away from it because those are they're really sugary, and even there's a small amount of them, they're really sugary, and the little colorful pebbles are really sugary in there, and they are really unhealthy and processed. And your rabbit will only eat those, and then they won't eat their pellets, and just a lot of problems will happen if you get pellets with those little pebbly things, and they're really unhealthy. So that's one way to know that you shouldn't buy it. And pet stores have so many of those kinds with pebbles in them, with those tiny fruity pebbles in them, and don't buy them. Only buy the Oxbow brand of pellets, because that's the only one that I can trust, really. There's adult rabbit food and baby rabbit food. Also, the hay there is also pretty good, but if you want a really good quality hay, for example, I wouldn't get the other types of hay except for the Oxbow ones, because the cheaper other types that are not Oxbow are not picked through, so there could be bugs or ticks in there. They just dump a bunch of hay in a bag. But in this one, they pick it through and hand select it and find the best pieces of hay and to remove all the bugs and stuff like that. So I would not get any other type of hay except for this one. unless there was a different company that was cheaper but did the same thing. So, yeah, pet stores have a lot of bad hay there, but they have some good hay there and some good pellets there, but some bad pellets there as well. That wraps it up for if pellets are good or bad at pet stores. And honestly, I think that pet stores have some really nice stuff there. And I think it's fine to shop from pet stores as long as you know what to get and what not to get. I don't think that pet stores are downright terrible. I think that they're pretty nice places, and whoever created a pet store I am really a fan of, because I think pet stores are nice because they're like stores where you can buy things for your pets, and I think that's really nice. And so, yeah, I'm not against pet stores, but I just think that sometimes they don't have the right things there, and you have to know what you're getting into when you're shopping at a pet store. So do your research, of course. I hope you've enjoyed this video.